there are places that seem to exist beyond the rules of the world, where even history and nature struggle to offer an explanation. An island once erased from the map by fire. A church that has continued to rise above generations. A bridge spanning a gorge that once seemed to divide an entire city. None of these places appears to belong to the same story. Yet they all exist within a single country, where every answer reveals an even more unbelievable question. Not war or natural disaster kept this structure under construction for more than a century. It was its own ambition that did. After 144 years, the Sagrada Familia will stand 566 feet tall, surpassing the Washington Monument to become the tallest church in the world. Stepping inside, the leaning columns immediately slow the eye. Gaudi envisioned them as tree trunks. Each angled column transfers its own load, while the soaring spires mimic the structure of animal thigh bones to achieve maximum strength with the least amount of material. Light shifts through the stained glass, making the entire space seem to breathe. In the early 1990s, engineers decoded Antoni Gaudi's models using aerospace design software. They discovered that even the slightest deviation would have made the entire stone structure impossible to sustain, revealing an organic geometric system far ahead of its time. Light draws the eye upward into a canopy of stone, before a narrow spiral staircase swallows the brightness and the echoes of 84 bells spread across Barcelona. In 1936, fire destroyed Gaudi's original drawings and scale models. For the next 16 years, architects patiently reassembled thousands of tiny plaster fragments, some no larger than a fingernail, to revive a masterpiece once thought lost. The Sagrada Familia was built not only with stone, but also with the perseverance of generations who never abandoned a single dream. The most astonishing thing about the Alhambra is not its fortified walls, but the ambition behind them. Over 261 years, the Nasrid dynasty did not merely build a palace, they created an entire royal city that endured longer than the history of the United States since 1776. Passing through its stone gateways, the eye is quickly drawn upward to the Makarnas vaults, suspended like illuminated stalactites. The dome of the Hall of the Abencerrages alone was assembled by hand from more than 5,000 individually carved elements, gilded over tin leaves so that light constantly shifts across the surface, making the ceiling seem to dissolve into open space. Yet Alhambra's greatest secret lies beyond its beauty. Carbon analysis published in 2025 revealed that the Alcazaba fortress was actually built during the Almohad period, forcing archaeologists to reconsider the origins of power within the complex. Beneath the radiant vaults remain cold underground dungeons, while across the white walls, faint purple stains continue to emerge as the gold and tin slowly transform through the centuries. Nasrid craftsmen created 9-point geometric patterns with an error of only 0.2 degrees, exceeding what classical mathematics once considered possible. The Alhambra proves that empires may disappear, but human ingenuity can endure forever within every stone.
Few places on Earth can transform the roar of more than 100,000 people into a single heartbeat. By 2027, Camp Nou will welcome 105,000 spectators, matching Michigan Stadium and becoming the largest football stadium in Europe. From the plaza, tiered open balconies make the facade resemble a giant Blaugrana mosaic, where passers-by can look directly into the bowl awaiting a sea of supporters. Stepping deeper inside, the eye is immediately drawn to the roof spanning approximately 540,000 square feet, covering the stands while generating solar energy to help power the stadium. Curved LED displays surrounding the seating bowl blend light and sound into the match itself. Few people realize that before reopening, more than 200 safety systems and requirements had to be completed, allowing the entire stadium to evacuate 105,000 people in just 4 minutes. Passing through the players' tunnel, the sound of Cant del Barca, the Mediterranean sunlight, and the hybrid pitch instantly create an unforgettable atmosphere. Yet there was a time when Barcelona had to leave its own cathedral. While Camp Nou was not yet ready, the club played before crowds of only 6,000 spectators. A remarkable contrast to the vision of a 105,000-seat stadium. Camp Nou has never been just a stadium. It is where scale, technology, and the Blaugrana spirit become one. On a map, Montserrat appears to be little more than a tiny dot in the Caribbean, covering just 40 square miles, roughly the size of Walt Disney World in Florida and only slightly larger than Manhattan. Yet this small island witnessed one of the most haunting volcanic disasters of the modern era. At first glance, Montserrat still looks like a tropical island, but farther south, the lush green landscape gradually gives way to gray ash, and roads disappear beneath layers of volcanic mud. In Plymouth, the only capital city in the Americas to have been completely buried, rooftops of old shops still quietly emerge, as if the city had been abandoned only yesterday. Yet not all life disappeared. The extremely rare Montserrat gallowasp still survives within a forest of only about 4 acres and has been officially recorded just 12 times. As you approach the exclusion zone, birdsong slowly fades into silence, where ash blankets the trees and the memories of a city once full of life. Soufriere Hills did more than reshape the coastline. It erased an entire capital from everyday life. More than 40 feet of ash and volcanic mud have sealed Plymouth beneath the surface for nearly 3 decades. Montserrat is a reminder that nature can erase an entire city, but it cannot erase the memory of the people who once called it home.
How close to the edge of an abyss can a city truly exist? In Ronda, the entire old town stands firmly atop cliffs split apart by the El Tajo Gorge, nearly 390 feet deep, while the Puente Nuevo, almost as tall as the Statue of Liberty, connects the city's two halves. From a distance, Ronda appears as a ribbon of white walls clinging to sheer limestone cliffs, making the entire city seem to float above the sky. Spanning the void is the Puente Nuevo, with its three massive stone arches, built entirely from blocks quarried from the bottom of the gorge over the course of 34 years. Few people realize that hidden within the bridge is a chamber of about 650 square feet, suspended above the central arch like a secret house in the sky. But El Tajo does more than divide the city. Its cliffs have also become a living laboratory for scientists studying the endemic flower Cathissa reverconii, helping confirm an entirely new plant species after more than 3 decades of taxonomic confusion, revealing that the region's ecosystem still holds many undiscovered secrets. Standing on the bridge, you almost forget the voices behind you. All that remains is the sound of the Guadalquivir River echoing up from the bottom of the gorge and the warm Andalusian wind sweeping across the stone railings, making every step feel both magnificent and fragile. Few people know that the chamber suspended inside the bridge once served as a prison. During the Spanish Civil War, prisoners were held above the gorge before being thrown into the 330-foot drop below. Ronda captivates not only with its beauty, but with the feeling that the boundary between wonder and memory has always been remarkably fragile. In the heart of Seville stands a plaza so vast that it would take 7 American football fields to fill its open space. Covering 540,000 square feet, the Plaza de España was created not merely to impress, but to make the scale of an empire truly tangible. The plaza does not seem designed to be seen all at once. The farther you walk, the wider its sweeping semicircle unfolds, embracing everyone at its center while drawing the eye toward the Atlantic Ocean. Along the way, 48 azulejos alcoves appear one after another, each displaying maps, coats of arms, and ceramic panels that tell the story of one of Spain's provinces. Every detail converges at the canal stretching more than 1,700 feet, where 4 small bridges link its banks as a reminder of the 4 kingdoms that laid the foundations of modern Spain. Yet it was only when the canal was drained for restoration in 2009 that engineers discovered the 2 230-foot towers had silently leaned several inches under the weight of time. As the evening light settles across the water, the sound of oars, fountains, and flocks of birds gradually overtakes every other noise, before the story quietly closes with a little-known truth about the man who brought this place to life. The Plaza de España reflects not only the sky above Seville, but also the ambition and sacrifice of an entire generation. Beneath Toledo's stone streets lies another city that has rested in silence for nearly 2,000 years. Its Roman circus stretched 1,390 feet, exceeding the height of the Empire State Building, and once welcomed 15,000 spectators at the heart of ancient Hispania. The Roman theater, nearly 295 feet in diameter, gradually became absorbed into the old town. Medieval houses, shared courtyards, and narrow streets such as Calle Trastamara and Calle Tornerias all stand upon foundations nearly 2,000 years old. Roman marble columns and granite blocks remain embedded in the facades of ordinary homes, blurring the boundary between archaeology and everyday life. Excavations in 2020 pushed Toledo's history back even further. The Valdelasilla Cemetery, dating back about 6,000 years, revealed an inland community that once built large collective burial grounds, prompting archaeologists to reconsider the origins of megalithic architecture on the Iberian Peninsula. Stepping into the Tornerias sanctuary, the sounds of the city almost disappear. Among forests of stone columns and layered arches, light filters through narrow openings, making the ancient walls seem to whisper about the millennia that have passed. Deep beneath the ground, more than 100 Jewish graves were excavated to depths of 9 feet to preserve the boundaries of faith even after death, making Toledo a place where history still resonates with emotion. In Toledo, every stone not only preserves the past but also continues to be part of everyday life today. Not every journey ends at a destination. Some end with an entirely different person. For more than 1,200 years, routes stretching over 930 miles have guided millions of footsteps to Santiago de Compostela, a distance nearly equal to the journey from New York to Jacksonville. What is remarkable is that the destination has never been just a square or a cathedral. Around the Portico de la Gloria, more than a millennium of Romanesque, Gothic, and Baroque architecture stands side by side, as though the layers of time had never been separated. Among the crowds, scallop shells fastened to backpacks and Galicia's distinctive glass-enclosed wooden balconies quietly tell the story of the millions who have passed through this place. In August 2024, science finally answered a long-standing historical question. DNA, isotope, and radiocarbon analyses confirmed with 98% probability that the remains beneath the cathedral belonged to Bishop Teodomiro, the man believed to have discovered the tomb of St. James in 813. Yet what remains after the pilgrimage is not those discoveries, but the quiet transformation within each traveler after days of walking. 1 year after the theft of the Codex Calixtinus, police recovered the 12th century manuscript along with €2.4 million that had been embezzled. Reminder that even the holiest places are not beyond human trials. Santiago de Compostela is not simply the final destination, but the place where every step gradually becomes the beginning of a new story. From the coast of Spain, Ibiza lies only about 56 miles away, roughly the width of Lake Ontario. Yet beneath that stretch of water is a world-reaching depths of 3,100 feet, where the Mediterranean still preserves secrets that have endured for nearly 6 million years. The sea around Ibiza appears almost unbelievably calm, but beneath its surface, the seafloor rises like a submerged mountain range. The cause is neither volcanoes nor earthquakes, but massive salt formations pushing through layers of sediment, leaving behind fossilized salt deposits up to 1.2 miles thick from the Mediterranean salinity crisis nearly 6 million years ago. On the island, whitewashed houses and the Puig de Missa church stand out among pine forests. Beneath the surface, Vast meadows of Posidonia oceanica continue to quietly sustain life throughout the surrounding sea. Yet that tranquility is gradually changing. A 2025 survey found that nearly 98% of the fish observed were juveniles or small individuals, while seawater temperatures exceeding 86 degrees Fahrenheit have caused more than half of the seagrass cover in many areas to disappear. Standing before Ibiza, the most haunting impression is not the deep blue water, but the realization that a sea once thought unchanging is still quietly transforming before our eyes. Ibiza is known not only for its beaches, but also for an ancient world that continues to exist silently beneath the water. Mallorca is often remembered for its crystal-clear bays. Yet in 1756, those same waters raised a 150-foot wall of water nearly as tall as the Statue of Liberty that surged more than 1.2 miles inland, turning a Mediterranean paradise into the scene of a disaster. Along Mallorca's eastern coast, enormous boulders still rest precariously atop limestone cliffs nearly 50 feet high. No road could have carried them there, and no trace of human effort remains. They are the evidence left behind by the tsunami, which lifted multi-ton rocks from the seafloor nearly 3 centuries ago. But Mallorca's sea preserves more than memories of destruction. A 2021 study found that Neptune balls, formed from Posidonia oceanica seagrass, can trap nearly 1,500 plastic fragments in every 2.2 pounds of dry material, helping remove an estimated 900 million plastic pieces from the surrounding waters each year. Within the Santa Maria Marine Reserve, only after descending to about 80 feet beneath the surface does it become clear that the violent past and the legacy of the plastic age continue to coexist beneath a sea that appears almost unchanged. Few would imagine that this famous holiday destination was once struck by a 150-foot tsunami, leaving traces that still remain on the cliffs nearly 3 centuries later. Mallorca is shaped not only by its blue waters, but also by the powerful memories the sea has never erased. Before the name Christopher Columbus entered history, a fortress had already stood watch over the cliffs of Segovia for more than 370 years. More than 900 years after it was first recorded, the Alcazar still stands as though time has never been able to wear down its walls. From a distance, the Alcazar resembles the prow of a stone warship cutting through the skies of Castile, sailing toward the point where 2 rivers meet beneath the cliffs. Yet the closer you approach, the stranger the illusion becomes. The ceiling of the Sala de la Galera curves like the hull of an inverted ship, while the Sala de las Piñas is adorned with 392 carved pine cones, giving the cold stone an unexpected softness as the light shifts throughout the day. Yet what surprised researchers most was not those grand halls. Research published in 2020 revealed that the main courtyard was not built during a single period, but completed through 7 construction phases spanning more than 2 decades, uncovering a far more complex building history than previously believed. As you climb the 152 winding stone steps to the Tower of Wantu, the space gradually closes in. Cool air settles over the ancient walls, and then each narrow window suddenly opens onto a sweeping view of the Erasmus Valley below. Few people know that the treasure once stored in the Tower of Homage helped finance Christopher Columbus's first voyage, a quiet decision that would ultimately change the map of the world. Some castles preserve history. The Alcazar quietly helped write the history of humanity itself. Amid the waves of the Bay of Biscay, a stone spine rises from the sea. At its summit, the Gaztelugat's Hermitage has stood quietly for more than 1,000 years, while 241 stone steps continue to challenge everyone who makes the journey. From the mainland, Gaztelugat's looks like a fragment of rock torn away from the coast and held in place by the restless sea. A narrow stone bridge hugs the island's slopes, leading to a winding path that gradually climbs to the summit, where every turn reveals another sweeping view of the ocean below. Yet its extraordinary shape is no accident of nature. Millions of years ago, as massive land masses slowly collided, layers of the ancient seafloor were pushed upward, leaving behind stacked flush formations that resemble the spines of sleeping dragons. These rugged cliffs have also become a refuge for several rare seabird species along the Basque coast. As the stone steps draw you closer to the Hermitage, the sound of church bells blends with the crashing waves, the scent of sea salt drifts through the wind, and the vast open sky makes the journey itself more memorable than the destination. After Gaztelugat's appeared as Dragonstone in Game of Thrones, more than 280,000 visitors arrived in a single summer, prompting local residents to launch the SOS Gaztelugat's campaign to protect the island. Today, the waves continue to wash against every stone step, while people continue to preserve the path that leads to the Hermitage. Perhaps the most extraordinary thing is not the places we have just seen, but the way they change how we see the world. The journey is far from over.